In real life, the longest lasting empires are the Roman Empire and the Pandyan Empire of India, which lasted 1500 years and 1800 years respectively. Now, from the fiction side of things, like for example, in fantasy, one of the longest living empires or kingdoms is the realm of Gondor in Arnor from Tolkien's Middle-earth, which lasted 3360 years, which is twice that of the longest one in real life. Now, there are more of these to come, some empires and civilizations that make the time span of Gondor feel like a day or two. These are based on dates that are actually given to us, or for some, those are to be properly estimated, but yeah, we got that with numbers. We will not be including things like the Time Lords or the temporal civilizations that defy the flow of time, nor including those having vague origins or unconfirmed origin points like the old ones of 40k. Anyway, now with that out of the way, let's get to the list. At number 20 we have the Yautja Empire. This is featured in the Alien vs Predator universe, and it spans thousands of years across the stars. They were built on a foundation of hunting, honor, and ritual combat. These predators have maintained their dominance for over 4,000 to 5,000 years or millennia, at least with their presence on Earth being taken as the only evidence with a proper date. All in all, their civilization's longevity comes from their strict hierarchy, ritualized breeding of warriors, and mastery of stealth and plasma-based technology, and also star travel. At number 19 we have Asgard from the MCU. So in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Asgard stands as a shining realm ruled by Odin, and then by Loki and Thor. This empire has existed for roughly 5,000 years, maintaining peace and stability across the 9 realms through the force called the Odin Force and advanced technology. The Asgardians have very long lifespans and a very powerful military might, paired with Odin's leadership, kept the cosmos in relative harmony for millennia. That is, until Asgard's destruction by Surtur in Thor Ragnarok. However, its founding date as far as we know was by Bor, father of Odin, which was 5,000 years prior to the modern day period. 18. Atlantis. Now in the DC Extended Universe, Atlantis is a powerful human realm and a technological powerhouse before sinking beneath the ocean over 5,000 years in the past. Over millennia, it evolved into a sprawling undersea empire composed of 7 distinct underwater nations or kingdoms. They have adapted biologically to their environments, developing advanced bio and hydrokinetic technology. So imagine being a political entity unchanged since the time of the pyramids. That is Atlantis. Now 17 we have the Golden Empire of Yeti. This is from the world of Game of Thrones, and it is situated in the distant east of Essos, the eastern continent, and it is one of the oldest surviving human empires in fiction, having lasted for more than 8,300 years. Unlike the Giscari or the Valyrians, who also had long-lasting empires, Yeti's continuity as a cultural and political entity has outlasted almost all of the other nations in George R.R. Martin's World of A Song of Ice and Fire. 16. The Hutt Empire. The Hutt Empire in Star Wars canon and legends has lasted around 10,000 years from the past, from the year 25,000 BBY or before the Battle of Yavin to 15,000 BBY. This empire was ruled by the slug-like Hutt species from Nal Hutta. The empire exerted vast influence across the Outer Rim territories through trade, monopolies, slavery, most of all, and crime syndicates. Though the empire enforced its will primarily through economic exploitation, it was capable of mustering a tremendous military effort on certain occasions, especially when its existence was threatened, fighting against the Nascent Republic quite a few times. At number 15 we have the Padishah Empire. So in Frank Herbert's Dune universe, House Corina ruled the known galaxy for over 10,000 years at the head of the Padishah Empire. It was established after humanity's expansion into the stars and after the Butlerian Jihad. It was upheld through the great houses of the Landsraad and the Sardaukar legions. However, its downfall came when Paul Atreides overthrew Shaddam IV and then established the subsequent Atreides Empire, which kind of like a continuity. The Corino's dynasty's longevity was rooted in political manipulation, religious legitimacy given by the Bene Gesserit, and the terrifying reputation of its military elite, the Sardaukar Legion. At number 14 we have the Infinite Empire. This was founded by the Rakata species in Star Wars lore and legends, and it dominated the galaxy approximately 30,000 years before the current era. Lasting around 11,000 years, it was amongst the first interstellar empires spotted with a dark side, and it was fueled by advanced technology and hyperspace drives. The Rakata enslaved countless worlds, creating monumental star forges and planetary-scale weapons. However, their empire collapsed after a devastating plague that rendered them disconnected from the Force, which led to various rebellions against their rule and then their eventual extinction. 13. The Imperium, but from Isaac Asimov's Foundation. And this is also called the Galactic Empire, often simply called the Imperium, which lasted about 12,000 years before decaying into stagnation and collapse. It spanned millions of worlds. It represented the peak of human civilization in the Milky Way galaxy, but it suffered from bureaucratic decay and over-reliance on traditions. If you're wondering how long 12,000 years is, well, going back in time 12,000 years ago, we were still butt naked fighting against Neanderthals, probably interbreeding with them and then hunting mammoths for food. Now at number 12 we have another Imperium, but the Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40,000. And this one has endured for roughly 13,000 years since its founding during the Great Crusade era in the 30th millennium. It spanned the entire galaxy. It is a decaying theocratic empire, but it still exists, and with the God Emperor of Mankind as its head, whose near-death corpse lies in the Golden Throne powering the Astronomicon. Its longevity stems from absolute authoritarianism, religious fervor, and the unending warfare that defines this grim setting. Despite being besieged by aliens, heretics, and demons, the Imperium remains humanity's last bastion in a grim and dying galaxy. At number 11 we have the Burning Legion from World of Warcraft. This is a vast demonic army and an empire led by the fallen titan called Sargeras, waging war with every other living being for over 25,000 years. Well, 14,000 years after the fall of Sargeras, and that was the time when it was formed, with the induction of the Eridar species, Archimonde, Kil'jaeden, and the like. The Legion has since annihilated countless civilizations across the cosmos, relying on dark sorcery, fell magic, and world-destroying armies. Though defeated for now, its enduring existence has shaped the cosmology of Azeroth and defined the eternal conflict between order and chaos in this setting. Number 10. The Transcendents. In Stephen Baxter's Xeelee sequence, the Transcendents are post-humans who rose and persisted for roughly 500,000 years. They represent an evolutionary leap as beings of immense intelligence and control over space-time. Their empire spanned the galaxy and engaged with other godlike species such as the Xeelee and the Fortino birds. Although humanity had endured for longer, as a political entity and a powerful force, the Transcendents evolved and ruled over humanity for over 500,000 years, until their eventual defeat by the Xeelee. Number 9. The Therians. In the 8043 universe, the Therians are a very powerful transhuman race that has endured for over 600,000 years. They have transcended biological forms. They now exist as machine-conscious entities dedicated to reshaping the universe to their perfectionist vision. Their goal is the Therian Project, which involves dismantling and reconstructing entire galaxies, driven by their belief in a total cosmic reorganization and their chase of the hyperlife, which will allow them to exist perpetually. Number 8. The Ancestors. These here, in the Halo mythos, are actually ancient humanity, which existed as an interstellar empire for over 1,000,000 years. They were an ancient breed or form of humans and were actually chosen to be given the mantle of responsibility by the precursors. Their civilization spanned thousands of worlds in the Orion arm of the Milky Way galaxy, but they met their end 100,000 years ago in a two-front war against the Flood, which is a parasitic species created by the precursors, and the more advanced Forerunners. And speaking about the Forerunners, here we have them. The Forerunner Ecumene from the Halo series lasted for approximately 10 million years, a galactic empire devoted to maintaining the mantle of responsibility. Their rule saw technological mastery, ringworld constructions, and control over countless species. However, their hubris led to their downfall after the Halo array was activated to halt the Flood, or the advance of this parasitic species. Their empire's ruins and artifacts became the foundation for the galaxy's later civilizations, including humanity's rise and the Covenant. Number 6. The Xel'Naga. These are from StarCraft, and they are an ancient near-immortal race of creators who have existed for tens of millions of years before the events of the game. They engineer species across the universe, striving for the perfect combination of purity of form and of purity of essence, which resulted here in the Milky Way galaxy, the Protoss and the Zerg. And when they combine, they will give birth to the new Xel'Naga species, or their continuation. Their influence extends across eons, shaping galactic evolution and indirectly orchestrating the storyline that defines the StarCraft universe. And as far as the time frame or the longevity of their civilization is concerned, at least in the Milky Way, it has been described that they have existed for tens of millions of years. At number 5, we have the Eldari Empire from 40k. Now, we don't really know the time scale or the time frame of the old ones of 40k, but at least for their creations, the Eldari, we do have the data. The Eldari Empire of 40k reigned for approximately 60 million years, ruling the galaxy and making it one of the most advanced and long-lasting civilizations in the entire Milky Way. They mastered the warp, conquered countless planets, and achieved technological perfection. However, the Empire's decadence culminated in the birth of Slaanesh, a fourth chaos god, which brought their empire low and consumed most of their species. Now number 4 we have the Migo of Yuggoth. The Migo, or the fungi from Yuggoth, in H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos are an alien species that have existed for over 100 million years, or at least that's when they came to Earth and still persist till now. They are an interstellar traveler species, and they are bioengineers who harvest human brains and souls for study, for preservation and experimentation. Their empire stretches across Yuggoth, which is Pluto as far as H.P. Lovecraft is concerned, and beyond, spanning dimensions rather than mere planets. Number 3 we have the Great Race of Yith. So the Yithians, or the Great Race of Yith, ruled over Earth approximately 200 million years ago, during the age of the dinosaurs. They were masters of mind-time transference, and they transfer their consciousness or minds into alien bodies across time periods, escaping their extinction by inhabiting future species and also past species. Their civilization on Earth, at least, fell only when the flying polyps they had imprisoned broke free 70 million years ago, and forcing the Yithians to flee into other timelines. And when they were on Earth, they ruled for 130 million years. Number 2, the Astromorphs from All Tomorrows. In All Tomorrows by C.M. Coastman, the Astromorphs are a post-human species that evolved from the Spacers, which is another future post-human species, and they won a war against another post-human machine species called the Gravitals, as well as against the godlike Q aliens. After that, they endured for approximately 500 million years, ruling over the galaxy and planting post-human species everywhere. They evolved from humanity after countless genetic manipulations and cosmic migrations, and their survival across geological epochs make them as one of the longest living intelligent lineages in speculative evolution. And number 1 we have the Elder Things from the Cthulhu mythos, more specifically from the Mountains of Madness, and they are perhaps the oldest known species in the Cthulhu mythos, their empire lasting roughly 1 billion years. They arrived on Earth before most known life and actually created the first life forms here, and including cities, massive cities everywhere. And then they created the Shoggoths, which is kinda like a slave species that eventually brought them their doom. Over eons they declined as other races such as the Yithians and the Migo rose to prominence, conquering their cities brought them low, and then they saw the greatest fall with the rebellion of their slave species, the Shoggoths, and they now exist as a tiny fraction of their might in Antarctica, in the Mountains of Madness, and most probably elsewhere in the Milky Way galaxy. Now these are the time frames that, although you and I can read and think about and understand this a lot, is something that cannot really be comprehended by human minds. See, I can barely remember the 90s as a kid. Yeah, I am that old, and that was around 30 years ago. Imagine 300 years ago, 3,000, 3 million, or 1 billion. That just reminds me of that saying, and with strange eons, even death may die. Yeah. So, if you like this video, then watch this other one too, the one in the end screens. Oh, and if you have other empires that have lasted longer, then do put them down in the comment section below. Also do hit the like button and then the hype option for those watching this in their phones. Also subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, fam.